Renata Kambolina on November 23rd, 2015 made her way to the train station. She got down, she took a selfie, a very famous selfie, one that is got a lot of conspiracies. She got back up on the Trans-Siberian train station platform. She waited until she saw the train coming, and then she ran and she put her neck down on the railway and let the train run right over her. Today, we're going to talk about something really hard, but something I think that we should talk about. And I'm so excited for you to be a part of it and listen to what I have to say. So, with further ado, let's get spooky. So, today we're going to talk about Renata Kambolina. She's a 17-year-old girl in Russia, and it's a very mysterious case, but also one that I think that a lot of teenagers and parents, honestly, a lot of people should hear about it and know about it. And I personally wanted to talk about this case because it is one of the cases that I can't go online and find a lot of people covering it. So I thought I would cover it so I could give you as many facts as possible. Before we jump into it, I just want to say if it's your first time coming here, I am Detroit Alley Cat. I cover things true crime, anything weird, paranormal, crazy. I would love if you stuck around, if you became part of my little YouTube channel and subscribe, leave a comment. Please leave a comment if you've come here because it's so lonely not seeing any comments. I am not monetized at the moment because I got really busy and lost that. So I can talk about certain subjects without worrying about me being cut off. But I am going to try to be really respectful. So before we hop into it, I just want to say that we're gonna cover a topic that I recognize can affect people in a very negative way. If you have a hard time talking about suicide, or listening to suicide and it makes you go down a rabbit hole that you find uncomfortable, I would really like if you not listen to this topic. I understand that the world is very complicated and scary right now, and a lot of people are going through a lot of things, and I would hate to be somebody that facilitated you thinking about harming yourself or possibly making you have really bad things on your mind. So I'm just giving you that trigger warning. I hate to say trigger warning, but that's what it is. I don't want to make anybody think that we're covering a light subject because we're not. We're covering a subject of a 17-year-old girl who had a very harsh end to her life. So without further ado, let's just go right into it. Uh, I have to keep looking at her name because I want to say it right. And there were a couple different ways that she went online and told people her name was. Her name was Renata Kambolina, but online she actually went as Rena Palenkova. I hope I said that right. I think I did. And when I first became aware of this case, it's not just a case, it's a girl. It was during COVID. We all had a lot of time to go and look on things online and do weird research. We had a lot of time to self-reflect. Actually, I really enjoyed it. I don't know if you guys did or not, but I did. But one of the first cases that I ever came upon that I didn't just want to research for YouTube, I was researching because I actually was very interested in it was Renata. I don't know if we should call her Rena or Renata. We're just gonna stick with Renata. I just feel like this poor girl for so many reasons. And I just think it's very important that we recognize that she's just a 17-year-old girl. And unfortunately, the way that her life ended made such a huge difference to so many people. So if you have not heard of this case, it's because it's in Russia. And what's interesting about this is that, you know, most of the stuff that a lot of the stuff that can be found about Renata is on something called VK Connect. And VK Connect is basically like Russia's Facebook. And so I am going to tell you that there is so many different things online about Renata, and it's hard to figure out what is not true and what is true. I am very limited on my knowledge of how to speak Russian, and a lot of the stuff is in Russian. And then there's other things that people have created about her, and we'll go into why that has happened. But I don't wanna talk about I'm gonna tell you when I think that there's a chance that something's not real. So, the reason why Renata's case is so very interesting is because she actually came, from a small town called Usyriak. Now, I'm gonna try to pronounce these things in Russian, and I'm going to probably really screw them up. So if you're Russian and you know how to say this correctly, please leave a comment and tell me. But this small town, Usyriak, is I hope I said it right, is, like, kinda close to the Chinese border. So we're talking about an Eastern Bloc Russian town that's very rural. It's a little bit cold it's always colder. It's not like the Western Russian cities, so it's not got as much going on. So it can be a hard place for teenagers, especially ones that are on a website like VK Connect, where they can see what everybody else in the world is doing. Living in a old world Eastern Bloc Slavic city can be hard. You know, if you go online, one of the things that I've always found endearing about the Russian culture is that they'll talk about, you know, their little Russian towns and apartments and their history. And there's a whole thing on like Slavic girls and why they're so hard and how they've been through a rough time. And I would really um, I always forget the words, but I would ask you to also check that stuff out because it's really cool, it's very interesting, it's got a rich history, it's got a rich culture, it's really neat, but Renata lived in one of these towns, and I just feel like it was kind of it was hard, you know, it's a hard it can get easy to get depressed, so she had, graduated from what I can see was, like, a high school, and then she was going to a school there, that looked like it was a college, and she was actually studying music. It said something about the School of Rock. I don't know if that's correct or not because, like I said, a lot of people have translated things, and I don't know if the translation is correct. But it does look like Renata had for started college to go for music. But what's interesting is her mother found out after the events that she was not going to class, like, from the beginning. She just stopped going to class, and so that should have been a red flag. Um, what happened is that I guess she had a hard relationship with her mother, but again, what 17-year-old girl has a great relationship with her mother? And then apparently she had a boyfriend, I believe his name was Alexei, and they were fighting and they ended up breaking up. So I don't we don't the facts of why Renata did what she did are kind of mysterious. Some people said that she was depressed. I did a lot of research of her online, and it just looked like she was a normal teenager, to be honest with you. But you can't really get any facts from that. So a lot of the pictures that I saw of her was from BK Connect. She ended up getting a fan base after the incident with her occurred, which is very strange. And people would post pictures and videos. Now, I don't know which ones are Renata and which ones have been faked. And let's go into the reasons for that. So when Renata passed away, unalived herself, right before she did that, she went onto the VK Connect and she posted the pictures of herself. And she said on there, I hope I all right, we're gonna just go ahead. We're gonna go ahead and try it. It said, Nia paka. Anyway, it's supposed to say goodbye, but, what's hard about that is that it's been translated into English for people here in the United States to read, but they did it in such a way that I think it was, like, phonetically spelt out, so it looks like Nia Paka, which means goodbye, and I could be saying that wrong because there is different ways of speaking Russian, like, you have your formal and your informal, and I hope I'm saying this correctly, and this looks like it's more of an informal way, so it's like the difference between saying, "Hello, sir, how are you?" or, "Hey, what's up?" So, there's different pieces of, like, Russian you can get, and, like, if you start to learn Russian, it gets a little bit complicated because you have your formal and your informal, and then they have, like, their female and their male words, which is very different than the English language. So, that little Neapaka is important because they started opening an investigation onto what could have possibly happened to Renata and why she committed suicide. Now, at the same time I started investigating or looking up stuff about Renata, I found out that there are different online groups, and this is very important for you to realize if you're especially if you're a parent, because, there is an online group called F47 that's on VK Connect, and it's basically, a death group, and so they play a game called Blue Whale. And Blue Whale is just it's crazy. It's so crazy. I think they ended up finding pictures of a blue whale in Renata's room as well. And the reason I'm saying I think is because I don't know what's been recreated, and I'll keep explaining why. So they said that Renata was part of this group, the F47 on the VK Connect, and the blue whale game is an actual unaliving game, and so you have, like, 40 to 50 different things that you have to do. You pick a number, and they ask you to go out and film yourself doing violent things to yourself, and then at the end of the game, you actually are told what to like, different options you have to end your life and to post a final picture. Now, I could be a little bit wrong, it could be a little bit different. I think things have morphed into something after Renata's death, because what happened after Renata did that is she ended up becoming, like, an icon for these kids that are part of this group, like an idol, like some type of, like, someone to look up to. She became like the, I don't know. She just became, like, the big group, like, everyone aspired to be like Renata, and what's really crazy is people started, uh, taking that last picture she had, and they recreated it themselves. So, they've made like, pictures of them, like, drawings of Renata, they make stories about Renata, they've made videos about Renata. If you go online and look, there were, like, videos about her life that, these Russian kids pulled off vConnect. They started sending, Renata's friends messages asking them to send them pictures of Renata, her grave, start sending them pictures of her mother. Really messed up stuff. And then they started making her like just talking about her in the group. After Renata did that, the Russian investigative group did an Article 110 on their mother. I'm not sure what an Article 110 is. I think that they investigated her and found her guilty or somewhat responsible for Renata's death for some reason, and it doesn't really say why. I don't think they so much found her guilty for murder, but they basically said that there were signs that they saw that she coulda saw and she should have did better. I don't know because she didn't go to jail or prison or anything. I think they just were looking for someone to blame. And then Renata's mother, she spoke out about it on an interview. It was on one of the, like, Russian, like, publications, and she said that she felt like the school should have alerted her that she wasn't going to school. But here's the thing. I don't know what the colleges are like in Russia, but I do know what the colleges are like here in the United States, and if you don't go to school and college, they're not gonna tell the parents. It's kind of like on the kids to go. Do I think that's the greatest thing? No, I don't. I definitely think that until you reach a certain age that you should be able to reach out to the family, but once you turn 18 here in the US, you're an adult and laws change. So was the school responsible that they didn't reach out to Renata's mother? I don't know. I don't know. I'm conflicted. But then also Renata's mother said that the um the railway station should have been able to see a young girl run onto the train tracks and put her head down. Now here's the part that is kinda hard because I don't know if she really did stand on the side and wait for the train to go around and then put her head down because there are so many different stories. That is the one that I found in a publication that had been, translated, and things can be translated wrong. But I think that if she was going to do that, Renata seemed like a very smart girl, that that would be the way to make sure that nobody stopped you. After Renata's death, and the investigation took place, somehow her crime scene pictures leaked, and Renata's mother found that very disturbing. Of course, I obviously would too. Now, wanted to see what you could find, so I went out and looked, and I did find the crime scene photos. Of course, you can find it on Reddit. I guess if you dive deep enough, you should be able to find it somewhere else. I looked really into them, and there are some things that I question about him, and the thing is that I everybody's been trying to recreate this picture of Renata, so I do think that somebody would try to make fake crime scene pictures. So I can't tell you if those are the real crime scene pictures or not. I do know that they said that they leaked, and I bet you they did because that kinda stuff happens all the time. Um, but after Renata did that, people started flocking to this Blue Whale group, which is a death group online on the VK Connect, and there ended up being copycats. And so what they would do is they would imitate her picture, they would imitate things that she said, and these kids ended up committing suicide. And a couple of them actually said Nia Paka, and they said that online before they did it, which made them realize that it was connected to Renata and this group, and it was a copycat situation. I have the list of the kids, and I just wanna tell you their names because I feel like they deserve that because they do. Let's see. On September 2016, Verona Oblast, she did that. Before her death, the girl said goodbye to her friends by writing a phrase of Kambolina suicide post, Nia Baka. I hope I'm saying it right. In 2017, a 16-year-old Nadia from Georgia, US, did the same thing. On May 12th, 2019, a young man did the same thing in Moldova. On October 17th, 2019 in Moscow, Gleb Koroblyov, did a broadcast. He broadcasted his suicide on VK Connect and said, "Nia Baka." On November 2nd, 2023 in Volgograd, yes, two friends jumped from a nine-story building taking selfies saying Niabaka on April 14th, 2025, a 19-year-old man did the same thing in Lesnoy by jumping out of a high-rise window. He said that he made a post putting that he had always wanted to pay tribute to this meme, talking about Renata Kambolina. Apparently, that last picture she posted was made into a very popular meme. Now, they ended up doing an investigation on the Blue Whale group, and they said that the person that created the Blue Whale Group was arrested and put in jail. I don't know how true that is, and that they ended up finding out that Renata was not part of that group, and they were just saying that. I also don't know how true that is. I think that a lot of people out there are predators and prey on young people, and they will say whatever they can to lure them, and I think that that creator of that group, of the Blue Whale Group, is probably trying to hurt these young adults. He said something about purifying the earth and stopping the overpopulation. Like, great. I just and the reason that I think that it's important that we all take a moment to educate ourselves about the groups is because when I started this whole journey about learning about this, I was actually looking for new cults to cover. And I just think that this is like something that we need to realize is that it's a new age, it's a new dawn, technology. They have these groups online, like, and there's hate groups and there's all different types of groups, really bad ones, and they call upon these young adults to feel wanted, to feel a part of something, which is very cultish behavior, and then they kinda, like, influence them to go out and do things like this group, like the Blue Whale Group, is influencing them to go out and do things. Now, I'm here in the US, so I'm guessing that I'm probably gonna get people from the US to watch this. But what you should take from this is that while I was doing research like this, I was learning about groups here in America that you can go online and find. And you just need to be aware because, like, you never know what your kids or your adult children are looking at, and you never know what's going on in their heads. And, the school said, even though I find it odd that Renata was absent for all these classes, but the school said they couldn't tell that something was wrong. Well, of course you couldn't tell something was wrong because she wasn't there. But also, um, I guess her mother said she couldn't tell anything was wrong. I think that, it's really hard when you have a 17-year-old because you end up, like, getting into fights and not seeing things that you should be able to see. I think that, if you have a friend and you notice something going on, please don't ever hold back, not ask. And this is just a really sad case and something that I wanted to cover and kind of talk about. And when you go online to find Renata's picture, you find all these pictures that are like, this might be her, this might not be her. This is like, and I just think that's really sad and traumatizing for her family. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Her mother has been trying to educate families on these death groups, on these groups, and telling people about it so that they can watch out with it for their kids, and I think it's important that everybody kinda educates themselves on these groups, and I also think that if you ever feel a way that you feel, like, pressured into doing something because you've met a group of people online or you're depressed and you feel like you have nowhere to turn, I just really want to say if you're watching this and you feel that way, please, please go find someone and talk to somebody because life is very short and there's so many beautiful things out there. And I know that Renata probably felt very alone and living in a rural place that, like, she didn't have a lot of things around her at the time, but life changes and all the hard times, they are just getting you to the good times, and you just gotta try to make it. I hope that you guys found this interesting. I will try to post a picture of Renata. I will say that online has been very weird about grabbing pictures from the internet, so I'll do my best, but I don't wanna post anything that I don't think is Renata because I have seen a couple other creators touch on this briefly, and they ended up posting pictures that people, like, cosplay as Renata, and, like, that would just, like, be the worst thing ever if I posted a fake picture of her. Um, I just wanna take a moment to say that I hope her family has healed, and, I haven't I do think that the Blue Whale Group is on the VK Connect to this day, which makes me really sad. And, yeah, be careful, guys, because it's a crazy world out there. So, thank you so much for listening to me. I hope you have a wonderful month of October. And as always, stay safe and stay spooky. Bye.